You spent weeks, months grinding, late nights, flashcards, sacrificing sleep, social life, everything for this one shot to passing the PMP. But when the exam starts, your mind goes blank, you not remember anything. Every term, every phrase sounds completely new, just like you never heard this before. Now, everybody keeps telling you, here's the next study hack, here's the next study routine. But let's be honest, none of them really matters if you can perform on the exam day. In this video, I'm not going to give you another study tip. I show you exactly how to succeed under pressure, how to stay calm, and how to be focused on the exam. These are the exact steps I used to pass my exam, and this is exactly what I teach my students as well. So guys, here are the 3 things which really helped me to stay calm on the exam and stay focused, which will be super important for me. You guys know my story. I failed 2 times. So I always had, this thought in the back of my mind that how can I be, let's say, better to make sure I can pass the exam. And here are the few things which has really helped me focusing on, and that was, keep me on track while I was doing the exam. So number 1, it was the test strategy. So technically the first and even the second exam I went in without a testing strategy. And why is so important? Because PMI will giving you a break, but those breaks are always scheduled breaks, and they coming, let's say, after 60 questions, which means that, you have the exam, which is 180 questions, completed in 230 minutes. Now, the test strategy is going to be the following, which I have for myself, is that for each block of 60 questions, I allocated certain amount of time, and that was helping me with the pace, and that was also helping me with the timing and managing the situation. So I knew that the first set of 60 will be the most time consuming, just adopting to the exam questions, managing the anxiety, managing the stress. So I'd said that let's allocate 90 minutes for the first 60 questions. And that was something which was giving me a peace of mind. That was giving me an idea that I can be calm and focusing on just to finding the correct answers, because I knew how much time I have for the first set of 60. And after that, I'm able to take my break, because you're going to have scheduled breaks. You cannot take any break any given time. You can take break only after 60 questions. And that's why this strategy is just smoothly amazing. Now for the second one and the third one, I was technically allocating 70 minutes of my time altogether. And this way I practiced that in advance. And when I arrived on the exam day, this was never really a problem to make sure that, it was never really a question that I was fitting in or not fitting into the time duration. Now, with this exam strategy, you have to practice this. I did this a lot. So technically, every study I did like 60 questions in less than 70 minutes to get this mental mana, get that mental focus of continuously focusing on questions, because we don't know the passing rate, and give us so much uncertainty of what to expect, what will be a good enough score on the day of the exam. Whereas if I'm going to be able to manage my time, there is one less stressful situation I need to kind of really focusing on altogether. So one more thing with this test exam strategy is that, so the clock on the exam will ticking on your screen on the right hand side, and it will be a countdown. So I need to make the calculation that technically from the first set of 60, I had 230 minus 90, which makes it 240 minutes. And I knew that when I should really kind of speed up with answering the questions, or how many I should maybe flag. But having this time framed approach and this time cap for each block of 60 was so useful, because even on my testing mode, first I was looking for average time, but average time was not really helping you, because that can be a question which you answer in 2 seconds or something which you've spent 2 minutes. So my opinion is not really a great indicator of what's your average timing. In my opinion, you definitely, should go away of that average timing. Will not add too much, value altogether. So having the exam strategy, that was point number 1. Now, the second one was realizing that it's not going to be perfect. And what I mean by that, I realized that nobody's going in with 100% score. Nobody's leaving with 100% results. And that comes to a conclusion that I keep saying that the higher you score, the likelihood that you pass is also higher. So let's say you have to aim somewhere like 80%. But what an 80% means, that means 140 out of 180. And coming to the realization that technically I'm allowed to screw up 40 questions was giving me a peace of mind, because I knew that this never going to be perfect. There is no, I passed all above target. I'll only we meet every 5 years for a beer and having a discussion. So nobody cares technically about how many above targets you have. The only thing which the job market really asking for it, are you a PMP, yes or no? And technically the results will not give any privilege whatsoever. So in that sense, you just need to make sure you go across the finish line, you pass the PMP, and that's all that is, I think. Some people might disagree with this, but at the end of the day, there are project managers who's doing this exam in their 40s, 50s, or even their 60s. Now, I think we all, with more experience, more wisdom, more years, you really come to the conclusion that this is just a certificate benchmark, like your commitment to the career path type of badge, which help you to realize that you wanted to pass it in a best possible way. And one of that is to understand that it's not going to be perfect. Nobody's going in with 100% results. Nobody's leaving with 100% results. And I think that was amazing. And then with the 40 category, so I do have people, they are so stressed about, the calculation questions, the formula questions. Now, in my opinion, if it's really stressing you out, you simply let it go. Because in case of, formula questions, you're not going to get more than 2 to 3 to 4, maybe, worst case scenario, because there are also people who get 0. So what can I say? You spending hours or days on budgeted completion or estimate to complete formulas, it will not have too much value, because through the exam content outline, we know that PMI limiting those questions because they are more interested on areas where agile waterfall collide, which is going to be communication, stakeholders, leadership, conflict management. That's where majority of the questions are. And again, this is not my invention, that's all coming from a PMI website. We just need to understand how to interpret the right information, which will set you for the expectations, what the exam is all about. So having the strategy, understanding is not going to be perfect. All this was helping me to realize that I should not be too worried. I just need to make sure I perform on the exam. And another key element was my success, and how I also explained to my students who are also passing within 8 weeks in the first go as well, that you have to make sure that you flag only few questions for the exam. Now, what I mean by that, so my advice for each block of 60 questions, you not flag more than 3 questions for each block of 60. Why is that? Because that is also can create a challenge that you might running out of time overall. So I'll give you a good example. You just, let's say, first block of 60 questions, you allocated 90 minutes, but you are just finishing in 85 minutes, let's say. You have theoretically 5 more minutes to finish this, and then you have 10 questions to review. And without you finalizing those 10 questions, you cannot take a break, which ultimately can add up into your exam duration, which can end up that, maybe for the last 60 questions, you have just 45 minutes left, which you definitely would like to avoid. Now, you can practice in advance to avoid second guessing. And technically, before the exam, you can try these 100 different variations. My advice to the students that you go with your first instinct. You go with your first answer and you go for it. And if you might be batting on a wrong horse in this case, then you take the learning out of it, but you keep practicing. Because the idea of, okay, you continue with the questions, you are question 17, and here you say, oh, I remember the answer for question 17 being at question 10. So you go backwards and then you go come forward and you keep doing this back and forth type of thing. That's a very bad strategy. I failed my second exam just like that. I thought that I had the answers in previous questions, so I just doing keep back and forth. But the problem is that you need to concentrate, one question at times, because the exam is a mental game against time, meaning that you need to answer questions, you need to digest, you need to understand. And that's why, see the phenomenon that the person who passed the exam an hour ago still remember lots of questions, but the same person a day later, completely brainwashed, even no idea what happened, because it's just so intense, so challenging, so difficult. And I think one way to keep things under control, because the exam is all about keep things under control for the certain time frame and a time period you have, is those certain elements. Having a strategy, understanding that you need to do an overall good score, because the exam is not more than you have to demonstrate you understand waterfall beginning to an end, you understand Agile Scrum beginning to an end, you know the differences, and you know what hybrid is at a high level. In a nutshell, that's what the PMP is. So also including, flagging just few questions, that is something which can help you to force you to make a decision and looking into it, because on the exam, you're going to read questions not 2 times, not 3 times, but 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times. It's all fine. It's all going to be fine. We all do that. And you need to make a call with whatever is available on the screen. because technically speaking, all the correct answers are going to be on the screen. You just need to find the right one. Now, PMI always makes it very tricky. So 2 will be always out of the window very quickly. And the 2 remaining ones, you're looking for always for the best answer, which is either fully correct or answering the specific question which is out there. And that requires practice. That's something which is not explained in all the learning materials. So here you have it. So this was like the 3 key things which helped me to stay under control on the exam, control which I can control, because I don't know what questions your guys are going to get, but we know the content through the exam content outlines were a very good idea, but the rest is how you do it, what's going to happen, because the more control you have under the stress which you can manage, the exam will be easier. You're going to finish like half an hour earlier with an amazing score and pass the exam. Now that you know how to stay calm and crash the exam under pressure, it's time to level up your speed, because it's very important to make sure you're not running out of time on the exam, because if it takes too much time to solve a single question, you're risking it all. So watch my next video when I'm solving 10 PMP exam questions and showing you how to answer them in less than 60 seconds. So see you there.